Good afternoon. Fade to Black breaking news for this Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. This is all of the news that you need. I'm Jimmy Church. Help support the show. Help support the news. Help support everything that we do around here. And get your Fade to Black T-shirts. 2 shirts, 2 ways to get them. 2 links below. Get a game changer. That's simple. Get a T-shirt with that. Everything is signed. Everything includes shipping. And I announced yesterday we're out of 2XLs. I've got more coming in. If you've got a 2XL on order, I sent out everything, all the 2XLs that we had, we ran out. Anyway, so if you've got a 2XL on order, they will be going out later on this week. All right? All right. Where am I? Crazy News Day. That's where I am. And, I want to remind everybody, we got a big week here on Fade to Black. Last night, we did the CLE preview show. That was last night. Tonight, Neil Story is with us, Bram Stoker and Dracula. We're going to do that and much more tonight with Neil Story. Tomorrow night, Dee Snider is with us from Twisted Sister for a twisted evening on Fade to Black. And then Thursday night, Ron Moorhead is with us. Bigfoot and physics. Huge week here on Fade to Black. Next week is amazing as well. Anyway, we've got a busy news day today. Let's get straight to it. On this day in history, 2001, Apple introduced iTunes, their digital media player application that revolutionized digital music. Yes, the world changed on that day in 2001. Wow. Anyway, here's your Fader fact. The first electric car, that's right, an EV, the first electric car that exceeded 60 miles per hour was in, wait for it, 1899. That's your Fader fact. Let's get to the breaking news. Right before showtime today, NASA has announced it is delaying the Artemis astronaut moon missions. That's right. The space agency just announced that Artemis 2, a trip around the moon, will now occur in September 2025. That's right. And the moon landing with Artemis 3 will move to 2026. They set a September 2025 date for Artemis 2, which will take astronauts around the moon without landing there. The crew of that mission will consist of 3 NASA astronauts, Reed Weissman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch. And Christina is, and 1 Canadian astronaut, Jeremy Hansen. The delay in Artemis 2 also pushes back the date for Artemis 3, which is to take 2 astronauts to the surface of the moon near its south pole. That will now be no earlier than September 2026. I'm completely bummed, but not surprised. Time is running out on Astrobotic's private Peregrine moon lander after suffering a critical fuel leak shortly after its launch into space yesterday on January 8th. The private U.S. moon lander lifted off yesterday during the flawless first launch of United Launch Alliance's brand new Vulcan Centaur rocket as the booster's primary payload. Hours later, however, Astrobotic reported that its moon lander had encountered an anomaly on its way to the moon that prevented it from orienting itself correctly. Several updates followed throughout the day yesterday, including an image taken by the lander while in space in which damaged insulation could be seen on the spacecraft, indicating a leak in Peregrine's propulsion system. The update indicates that the moon is certainly now out of reach for the damaged lunar lander. If the thrusters can continue to operate, they believe it could continue in a stable sun-pointing state for approximately 40 hours. The goal is to get Peregrine as close to lunar distance as possible before it loses the ability to maintain its sun pointing position and loses power. Check this out. This is the insane news of the day. I've got a lot of it, actually. Icelandic researchers and scientists are on a mission to transform the renewable energy landscape by going to the heart of a volcano. They have set their sights on revolutionizing renewable energy by drilling directly into a volcano's magma chamber. The magma chamber is where molten rock collects before exploding as lava. The Krafla Magma Testbed, or otherwise known as the KMT project, will tap into a magma chamber of Krafla in northern Iceland by 2026. To make it a reality, KMT is actively seeking $100 million in funding, with plans to begin drilling by 2027. That's insane. Meta, that's right, Meta will begin removing some sensitive and age-inappropriate content from teenagers' feeds, the company announced today. Meta already restricted topics such as self-harm, eating disorders, and mental illnesses from being recommended to teens on Reels and the Explore pages of its apps. But the new update also restricts these topics from appearing in young users' feeds and stories, even if the content was posted by people they follow. Teens will now have the most restrictive content control settings on Facebook and Instagram by default. Meta will also send notifications and prompts to teens to encourage them to update their settings to make their accounts more private. The shift comes as the social networking giant has remained the target of intense scrutiny over how it protects and affects young people. All right. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station could soon add new taste to their space food if NASA accepts the proposal of Sir Kensington's. Sir Kensington's, which produces classic and flavored mayonnaise, has begun a campaign to bring taste to space with its otherworldly condiments. They have sent a proposal pack of tasty stuff to NASA to sample. That's right. They're hoping that NASA will approve its products to be consumed in orbit. NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston manages all of the meals launched for the U.S. segment of the International Space Station. It's really simple. Food tastes crappy. It tastes bland in space due to the fluids in astronauts' bodies being affected by the microgravity environment. Get the astronauts some mayo. All right. A significant milestone has been achieved by a team of researchers at the Georgia Institute of Technology who have successfully engineered the world's first functional semiconductor using graphene. Graphene is a two-dimensional honeycomb-like structure formed by a single layer of carbon atoms organized in a hexagonal lattice. It is well known for having exceptional qualities, including strong electrical conductivity, mechanical strength, and flexibility. This is a big deal because silicon is nearing its limits for quicker processing and smaller electronic devices. It's a really big deal. Coal miners in North Dakota unearthed a partial mammoth skeleton with a complete 7-foot tusk. They discovered the mammoth tusk while working at the Freedom Mine near the city of Beulah over Memorial Day weekend last May. The tusk was scooped up and loaded onto a truck before the miners even noticed it. The area was quickly closed off to allow paleontologists at North Dakota Geological Survey, the State Historical Society of North Dakota, and the Bureau of Land Management to excavate at the old stream bed where the fossils were buried. They unearthed more than 20 bones from the mammoth skeleton, including ribs, a shoulder blade, a tooth, and its hips. And finally, I'll leave you with this. It's going to freak you out. For the first time, scientists have grown cerebral organoids, three-dimensional lab-grown mini brains. And they did it from human fetal brain tissue. The new organoids grew to the size of a grain of rice and contained many types of cells that self-organized into complex 3D structures. The researchers also triggered the growth of brain tumors with the mini brains and tested the tumor's response to existing cancer drugs. Mini brains mimic key aspects of the development and function of full-size human brains. They have previously been grown from human stem cells, but never directly from already formed brain tissue. And you can read about all of this in the new study published yesterday, January 8th, in the journal Cell. The mini brains grown from the forebrain retained their structural characteristics, and they responded to specific signaling molecules that are involved in brain development. The mini brains were grown for 6 months, and the researchers were able to grow multiple mini brains from a single tissue sample. Now, here's the deal. There has to be dedicated ethical frameworks, discussions with donors, and the scientific community before any further experiments are conducted. Seriously. It's amazing research with huge ethical issues. We're talking about the soul, consciousness, and the development of that. And is it transferred from the donor? Think about that. There's all the fade to black breaking news that you need for this Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. Fade to Black breaking news is produced by Renee Newman. I'm Jimmy Church. I want to remind everybody tonight on Fade to Black, Neil Story is with us. We're going to be talking about who is Bram Stoker. Stoker? I'm totally stoked about tonight's show. And Dracula. All of that and much more tonight on Fade to Black. I'm Jimmy Church, and all I've got right now is Go Back Lee Tappy.